All right, I think we are live. Can you guys hear me okay? Hi, this is Linton Ye. I think we are live. Oh, can you guys hear me okay? Turn off my speaker. So yeah, I'm streaming from Victoria, Canada. It's on the west coast of Canada. So where are you guys watching from? Yeah, just a super quick self intro. I'm a developer. I'm learning some design. I'm not sure how much percentage of myself can be considered as a designer, but I'm really passionate about bridging the gap between development and design, and that is why I'm so excited about Framer X, which is seems like a super potential tool that we're going to be able to take advantage and save us a lot of time and help us to build great products. And I hope I have made myself clear enough that I'm not an employee of Framer, the company. I'm just a fan, but I'm super excited about the tool. And also, I am preparing a course that's going to be focused on Framer, Framer X to be precisely. So let's get started on some super quick slides that I have prepared. Oh wow, you guys from all over the place. Should I say like good afternoon or good morning or good night to you guys? Anyway, so that's apologize for super unprofessional slides, but the idea is to quickly put together something that so that I can share what I have with you. First, I like to thank a few guys that have replied to my request, and I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, Thai, or yeah, apologize if I say it incorrectly. So you wanted to see some of the interactions. I think they've just came out. They just published a beta 2, which covers a lot of cases for building micro interactions. I'm not sure how much I can show today, but I'll try. Probably some simple stuff at least. And also Mauricio. Again, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about a little bit about as if you're not familiar with React or even coding, how we can actually take advantage of Framer X as well. That's the slides, and of course, the slides are built in Framer. So if you can see that, this is basically one frame pointing to another frame. So you can just do this simple click and link, and you can change the transition between those slides. For example, we want some kind of fancier. Let's go back. That's another slide. So yeah, you can see you can very easily turn some quick mockups into interactive prototype. All right, so now let's build something, right? Let me add a frame over there. What about adding a tab bar on the bottom? So I'm doing this stack tool. By the way, I'm actually using the shortcut, but you can always access those tools over there. So I just chose this stack tool. What about put a star over there? Just pretend that it's an icon, and in some rectangle, pretend that it's a text of the icon, and we can turn this one into a frame so that I can easily drag it into the stack over here. This is not super surprising, and it's placed inside the stack. But when I press Command D to duplicate it, you see I didn't have to do anything. It's automatically laid out in this tab. I can do a few of them. That's pretty convenient, right? And if you want to switch the order of those things, we can just just do it like that, right? It automatically arranged the things for us. We didn't have to kind of have to align those things and reposition all of those items when we want to reorder those items inside the stack. So that's pretty handy. The other thing that I wanted to show you is now the ability to use components in Framer X. So let me delete this and delete this as well. And now we can do this create design component. I'll talk about later. There are two kinds of components in Framer X. One is design components, the other is a code component. So if I do that, it becomes purple, and you see there's a text called over here. It's called it said that it's master. So let me duplicate those things a few times, and this one is instance. And now the cool thing is that if I make change to the master, everything gets updated, and you can just modify the master. The instance you will get exactly the same as the master. And also you can override the style of in an instance. For example, you want to change the color of it. And if you do that, it'll stay as that in that particular instance. It's not going to update the rest of the instances. But if you just change things in the master, it still updates the properties of the component as accordingly. So that's the design components. It's great time saver. Now let's build some more stuff inside this mockup. So let's add another stack. Let's say put it all over here. That occupies the entire screen, and we can start adding some more stuff over here. Just a block over here, and another block, right? And of course, we want to turn those things into, actually, those things are not inside the stack yet. But yeah, let's turn those shapes into a component so that we can modify them all in just one go when there are multiple copies. So now it becomes a frame, and making it a component so that it's shown as purple in the outline. And if I move it inside the stack, becomes like that. And if I make multiple copies, did you see did you notice the difference between this stack and the stack on the bottom? It actually automatically set. Sorry, let me back up. So actually, for the stack on the bottom, so when we put stuff inside it, so it just align them horizontally, right? And for this one, it actually is pretty smart. It automatically switch the direction to vertical when it guesses that you're trying to do some interface vertically. So I didn't have to switch those configurations if I didn't have to. So that's pretty smart and handy. And now, what else? Let me create a few more. And what if there are, like just too many of them, which we need a scroll, we need a scroll bar to show them properly on the device. Let me actually open this preview over here to the right. So on the right, it's a preview. On the left is the framer, the editing interface. So we can add a scroll very easily, like this. So over here, there on the right, left of the screen, there's a scroll. Again, select the area that for the scroll, and for this stack, we want to convert it to a frame by pressing Command and Return. And then you can just connect those over here, and it becomes a scrollable interface. Maybe we didn't have enough items there, but maybe, let me make this scroll smaller so that you can see it's scrollable. All right. And you can, we can keep doing things like this, and we can actually, let me back up a little bit. Let me delete some of the things over there. And make it only 2 items. I wanted to show you, what I wanted to show you is actually we can add stack inside a stack. So this is a new stack. If you see this outline, this is a new stack inside this stack. And then if I make copies of them, it'll all work, as it's supposed to. If I reorder those stack, you see, it switched the order, automatically arrange the layout for us, and we can switch the order of this as well. And of course, it doesn't have to be all vertically. You can mix horizontal and vertical layout as well. Yeah, I'm seeing some questions posted there, so I will address those questions after these things, and after the demos. And I'll try to address them all. All right, so that's stack and scroll. And the other thing is the things on the component store. And I think that's one of the biggest idea over here. You get a store of design components that's going to help you speed up the work a lot. So, for example, we can replace. Actually, there was a question about material design components, and there is actually a material design component there. But let me just use this material icon made by Mike Johnson. And I think I have already installed it. Yes, installed. So this tab over here, if you can see it, you can see my cursor. Yeah. So this tab over here shows all the available components that you have built. So those are components that I have built, and these are components that I have installed from the store. So material icon, like here, this one, right? Let me grab that. Delete this star. We want to use real icon right now. Just grab this one, put it inside the component. If it doesn't update, that means that I haven't really put it inside the component yet. So let me just put it over here, drag it into the master component. It'll update all the instance right away. See? And yeah, and now I can change it. For example, I didn't want to use this heart icon. I wanted to use another icon. I can just grab this the name of the icon, or just add a random one. This one, book. So this book that becomes a book icon, and so on and so forth. So those properties are the kind of custom properties defined in this component, in this material icon component. So when you write a code component, you can declare those kind of property controls. I will show you after this demo to how to actually do this in code. So that's material icon. That's pretty cool. And another component is this Unsplash, which is pretty cool as well. Let me. Where is? Oh yeah, sorry. So when you are trying to work on the content of the scroll, you make sure to actually modify the things of the frame that you're pointing to, not the scroll component itself. I guess this can be probably improved in the future. But anyway, so this is the actual content of the scroll. That's the master. I wanted to replace this rectangle with this splash. It just grab a random picture from. Did I put it into? Yeah, it was not in the. Okay. Make sure it's positioned properly. Where is it? Okay, that's small enough. Okay, it was out of the. Anyway, that should work. And the location is kind of weird. Okay. It was out of the frame, and it just didn't work as expected. Here we go. So that's better, right? Slightly better. You got all the pictures over here, and you can update. You can override this picture as well in your instances. For example, this one, you don't want this random picture. You can put a splash. You can put a different search. That's a different picture. That's overrides. So the idea is that there's going to be a growing number of components on the store that's going to hopefully fill every use case that you can imagine, that that will save you a lot of time, right? As I promised, I wanted to show you like a lot of cool components that I found so far on the store. One is the other, and this one by, I think I have a favorite here. Did I install it? Yeah, from Zach Johnson, and this is a translation component. That's really slick. So I will show you over here. Pretend. So go back to our master component. What is going on? Okay, so this is our master component. Let's just replace this with some text. So if I drag this translate text component right here, again, I still need to drag it over into the master component so that every line appears so that all the instances got updated. All right, so that's I've got this. Alignment is a bit weird. Probably it's possible to where's alignment? I think, yeah, you can align to the left. And the cool thing is that you see those flags, country flags, right? You can click one of the icons to translate it into a different language. That's really a godsend that make it super easy to test our design with different localizations. So that's one cool component, and there's a cool one, avatar. I'm not going to put it inside a component. It takes quite a while, but yeah, you can configure, you can change the appearance of this avatar. That's pretty fun, and I can play with it all day. Okay, so that is this one, and there's a profile component. I can show you as well. The profile, it will quickly generate a random profile, with a picture and name, and then you can configure this. You can change things around. Yeah, sorry, just closing the window. There's some noise outside. Cool. Translate avatar, and what else? Yeah, so that's the design component. So basically, I've shown you the design component that you can create directly out of the canvas. And then let's move on to code component. So over here in this component tab, and there's one thing called new component, and there are two options, from design and from code. I hope you can see those icons, these buttons. Yeah. So you can, if you choose from code, say whatever component that we're going to create. That's the name of the component. And you can do create and edit. It's going to open your default editor, code editor. Usually, what I use, I just use a Visual Studio Code, which is a super convenient code editor, super powerful. It'll open up this chunk of code as a template of for your code component. Yeah, for those who are not familiar with like JavaScript or React, it's certainly a lot of text over here. But let's switch back to Framer. Let's create a new frame so that. All right, so we created that code component, right? So it's color block. By default, it's going to look like this. What I wanted to show you is that even if you're not familiar with React, you can still kind of, sort of make sense of this file. Of course, there are a lot of things over here, but if you look closely, and this, for example, this part, does it does it look like CSS? Yeah, no, it's not exactly like as in CSS, and there's some subtle differences. For example, like you don't write like this in CSS. You probably write align items, right? But yeah, so but the idea is that it's really works exactly the same way as CSS. So you can actually change something. For example, uh, we want to change the background color to orange. Becomes orange, right? And also the other thing is ignore everything else, and it's a lot of stuff. But this actually looks kind of like HTML, but it's not exactly same as HTML. But you can still make sense of it. It's a div. It has some style. You can put some text inside. Let's say I wanted to show you the other thing is so this one is kind of important in Framer context, is that you can add this property controls to so that you can when people use your component in Framer, you can have things on this property panel. So for this one, it's text, right? So for example, we want to add another one. We can just copy and paste some of the code and play with it. We want to add the background color of this thing. Let's say BG color. Also, there's an error. So it says that comma is expected. So we will need to add a comma. Now, of course, this detailed syntax takes a bit of time to get used to, and you probably need to learn some more about JavaScript. But my point is that you can already start playing with it. For example, we want to, instead of a text box, we want to use just a color picker. So you can, that's one of the nice things Visual Studio Code provide us. You can just, it gives you some really good suggestions. BG color, for example. If I save the file, go back to, yeah, I guess the other thing is I need to set a default for the BG color for it to show up in the property panel. What is the color that I want? Let's use white. Save that. You can pick the color. Of course, this doesn't work yet. We will need to modify the actual style. Yeah, let's just do it here. And I probably don't have enough time to actually explain all the syntax over here, but always look around for the tutorials for React, or wait for my course. I will explain in more detail of why this what this means. But the idea is that can BG color, and if I save, that's the color that I just picked, right? So it's red. You can pick another color, and that changes in real time. So that's one thing that I like it really. I really like it about, because I didn't even have to save the design file here, so it just changes in real time. All right, cool. That's now it's half an hour into the webinar. So let me just quickly go through the questions and see if oh, hey Colin. I'll see. All right, there are a lot of questions. Material design components, and getting back to this material design component, there's actually a cool component on the store. I think it's right here, or maybe over here. This material UI, and I think this is a wrapper for the material UI React component, React package. So those are really like kind of real components. It's not just a bunch of frames or text putting together. What the other? There's a big learning curve. Yeah, I think there's definitely a learning curve, like anything, but I think they have um, I like the direction that they're taking. It's they're really trying very difficult, very hard to make things easy. Either like if you're actually coming from other design tools, or if you're not familiar with coding at all, they give you some help, and of course, there's going to be some learning involved, and like anything, but you can really get started with something that you can play with the tool. And there's actually one aspect that I like about this environment is that it really, still it feels like even if you're doing coding, it feels like you're actually designing as well. Like it's not as a coding like in the developer sense. It you don't need to actually set up a lot of environment or anything, and a lot of things it'll and the tool will just give you help, and it'll give you a lot of code templates to kind of play with, and you can open the files directly from the tool. For example, for that color block, we didn't have to go to the terminal and open things. That would be a lot of trouble. You can just right click over here and edit the code. It's there, and you can, when you make a change, uh, it's instantly reflected on the preview or the canvas. You didn't have to start a server or whatever. So those complex steps. So those are all taken care of by Framer. Not much if you're familiar with. Yeah. And, yeah, I'm still reading the comments here. Yeah, the beta 2, I'm not sure if I have enough time to actually show it. Um, let me let me quickly show you one thing still that's still on my agenda is about how to wrap up an existing React component, so that you can use it in Framer for designing your apps. So let's go to this, and there's a cool component called React credit cards. If you guys watch my Twitter, and I just tweeted yesterday about how to about wrapping this thing into like inside Framer X. So that's a nice looking, UI for kind of showing a credit card. It actually flips around like that, and it really shows those information on the card like a real card. So let's see how we can wrap it up so that we can use in Framer. Okay, over here. Let's go to this components and make a new component, and it's gonna be a code component. Let's say card, I don't know, card test. Create and edit. So now it's I think it's just exactly the same as what we saw before. It's a block of a text over here, but we are going to turn it into a credit card, right? All right. So in order to get that working, we need to definitely install this npm package, but it's not super difficult. I'll show you very soon. So go over here to the file menu. There is a show project folder. I think it used to be called show package, and this is a better name, show project folder. And it's going to open Finder, and you have this directory right here. So you can open your terminal. Just use this terminal. And let's go into that directory and just install that npm package. So if I type cd, grab it over there, and it's gonna get the full path. And as I learned from I forgot his name, but as I learned, you can just command click and go over here, and it'll save you some typing. You didn't have to type this cd, but anyway. So now we're inside this directory, and we are gonna do yarn add or npm install. I think it's gonna work as the same way. Credit cards, right? Of course, the requirement of getting all these to work is that you will need to install Node.js. You will need to install Yarn if you want to use it, or if you don't want to use Yarn, you can just actually copy and paste this text. I believe it's gonna work. I've never tried it yet, but in theory it should work. You just copy this text and put it into the terminal, and it's gonna install that package into your Framer project. I think it's installed. So if we go to our code editor, again, a lot of the things we could just do, copy and paste, right? So that's the usage page. Usually, if you see a React component, it's gonna have something like that. Just copy the import. And then this is the tag that we're gonna use. Copy this tag and find this render whatever, and we're gonna be sure that after this return we can paste something like HTML, right? So we can just paste it over there. And of course, there are some errors. We didn't have this input. Let me just use hardcode value. So what is good? That's the car number. Yes, let's just get rid of everything else. See if it actually works. Go back to Framer. All right, that works. Yeah, it works better than yesterday. There was some dependency issues when I was trying that. Anyway, so this is not the cart yet. That's one last step. See, don't forget to import whatever. Like we're gonna just use this. We're gonna import the CSS so that it's styled properly. So if you go back to the code editor, go all the way to the top, and save. Do we see? That's a card, right? That looks pretty good. And of course, we can add property controls like we just did for the color block, when we can make the number configurable. Let's just make the name configurable from Framer. So this props name, and we need the two places that we want to. We need to. Let's just change this text to name. Command D. That's pretty cool. We can multiply modify those texts all in one shot. So name, that's a cool feature of Visual Studio Code, right? Name, okay, that should work. We already have some default value here, but we can actually, play with the name like this, right? Okay, so that's now basically we have this component. We can use it anywhere in our design, and it actually works like it works as a real credit card component. And the other step, which is going to be related to the beta 2 that they just released yesterday. Let's say, what if we want to add a button? Let's just add this, like add a frame. We want to flip this card. It's like what we saw over here. See? I think just wait a bit. When it moves the focus from another field to the CVC, it's gonna flip the card to see the back of the card, which is a pretty neat animation. Let's see how we're gonna do it. All right, so this flip. So what they added in beta 2 is this code option. So you can add a code, and it's called Overwrite. I probably don't have time to explain why this is called Overwrite, but let me just quickly show you how this can be done very easily. I can create a new file, and it creates an app file, app.ts file. It has some defaults, so that again it gives you a lot of help so that you can start playing with it. So if we just don't modify anything, we can just choose this scale. Back up a little bit. So that's we have a scale here. That's why we see Overwrite scale right here. So it export. You can read it as English, right? Export constant probably is not English, but export something called scale, so that we can get it from Framer. There's a scale. So if I change this one to flip, for example, so keep everything there, and it's called flip. Of course, it's not doing flip. It just scale it when I click it. Now the next step is to actually make the credit card flip when I click this button. So the idea is that when I click this, we want to somehow communicate with this card component to make it flip, right? So that's really like starting to feel like a real app, not just a prototype. So you can build a real app in this environment. But let me go back to make this card flip. It's so if you go over here, so it's some of the kind of hidden things over here. There's a prop called prop for this React credit card component called focused. It can be either one, like in this credit card. So it could be the number, it could be the name, it could be the expiry date, and it could be CVC. So if we move the focus from any of the things on the front side of the card to CVC, it's going to flip it to the back side, and vice versa. So what we need to do over here, we didn't have to do those like kind of fancy animations here. We could, I think we could do use a framer to flip this car, but that's not what I wanted to show you here. What I wanted to show you is that we can just simply change the prop of this car so that we're going to see the animation. Okay, so this is the focus. We go back to this app.ts file, and we can export. Let's export another one. Again, you can let me just do this. Just copy and paste instead of actually writing it. So copy and paste and create a new name. And whenever there's an error, Visual Studio is going to give us help, right? Cannot declare whatever. So let's give it a name. What's the name? Update focus, right? Delete this. Is we didn't want the card to do anything if we tap on it, and now we want to change its focused property to something like if I just play with some card coded value, CBC, save it, and it's not doing anything yet because I have not select the code override for this card. So if I select it on the canvas, and again, I think, yeah, you can do a code and do update focus. I think it should work or not. Did I save it? Focused. Yeah, I'm not sure if I forget something. Let's delete that. This is a car component code. Now flip update focus. For some reason, it's not working. Where is the export? Yeah, I have a way to cheat. So let me see what I have built yesterday. Hopefully that'll work better. That seems to be the same as what I did. Let's see if this actually works. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I always like that when you're in a demo mode, things tend to not work. But let's check out the file over here. Edit. Flip. Focused data. Yeah, probably it has to be inside the data. I am not sure. Let's try that. Okay, let me add get rid of this scale. I'll just leave it there. R focus CVC. R focus, right? Let's see if it makes a difference or not. Nope. Focused. Yeah, anyway, let's skip this one. I sorry for that, but the idea is that you just pass a thing that you want. Let me actually change this one. Maybe that will be easier, and then I'll find some more success over here. Instead of this, I will add a CVC. If it flips. Yeah, that flips. Weird. Maybe it's a bug, or maybe it's my issue. But anyway, we can actually start from here. So yeah, the idea is that everything goes into this code override. code override, right? You can just you can specify that in this override file, and in this function we return something, and this is going to be the same as the property that you want to set for the component, right? So this is CVC, and it becomes the front of the car, and its number. It becomes the actually, yeah, this is the front of the number, front of the car. But now what I was doing here is that in this flip component, in this flip override, which is mapped to the button over here, so it has an override flip, right? When I start, let's comment out this first. This is a bit noisy. So the real thing that will make it work is this untap function. So whenever the frame over here is tabbed, we want to change the data. So we want to change this the car focus. If it's number, we change it to CVC. If it's not a number, we change it to number. So that's how it works, right? So whenever I tap this button, and it's going to change that data. And that's how we communicate between those two components, between the two elements on the preview. All right. So I think that's about it that I wanted to show today. And it's about like 8 minutes left. And let me see if I can answer some of those questions to my best ability. Okay. How to create and publish. Yeah, I'm actually doing it backwards on the chat box. Data, make sure. Yeah, you can publish your own package. So whatever you write in your file, you will have the ability to publish it. You can do this publish package, and it's super simple actually. You can just do this publish package and give it a name, and it'll publish. And you can edit the files inside this project folder to, for example, customize the image over here. It's actually over here. There is a metadata. You can upload. You can put your file to this artwork, different icon, and also a README file, which is a markdown format, which is pretty easy to handle. And after you finish everything and save your file over here, you can just publish your package, and it'll appear in this recent tab, I think. And there's a lot of packages right here. Make good resources, and have you tried to design a demo responsive web? Yeah, that's I'm not sure about that one. Justin Edward asked about, have you tried to design a demo for responsive web? But I think they have some really cool response, cool support for responsiveness. And I'm not sure if I have explored enough yet. But for example, you have a frame, which is an image. Somehow, like you can. You see those pins over here. I think it works. It's very similar to the previous Framer Studio. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like if you have those pins over there, it just grows with your selection. That's one of the support. I'm not sure about the breakpoints. I guess you just create different designs, like different frames for different different screen size. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. What happens in your project if the components is updated? Yeah, I think it's going to be updated as well. Actually, a backup. So if I think it works like this. Um, if there's an update for a component, it's gonna show you that there's an update. You can update it manually. Like you can select to update or not update. I think you have an option there. That's because this morning I saw I had to update. I had to update a couple of packages. I was given the option to do so. Design is about to wrap that component library. Yeah, so if you have an existing design system, so if it's React, if it's React for the web, and you can just wrap it as what I did for the credit cards. Yeah, so like I mentioned, that material UI is actually a real component library that's been wrapped over there. Try it and see if it works properly. Still have a few minutes. So that's over here. That's the button coming out from this material UI component. Yeah, that I think that's the real material button. You see the ripple effect, right? When I click on it, probably it's not so visible on the on your screen. But yeah, when you get a chance, you can just give it a try. You can wrap. So I think that's the whole idea of Framer X is that you can directly use your code in development, and you can have it and have it ready in your design. All right. Yeah, the components right now they're totally free and open source, and that brings a very good point is that you can actually check out the code. You can actually learn how to build those things by checking out the code. You can just copy the code, just grab anything in the component tab and copy code, and your editor paste, and you can learn about how it was built. That's super cool, right? And you can start making changes and see if the tweaks if it works or not. I think that's the best way to learn how to hack stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's going to be like paid components. All right, I think that's about it. And how to edit an existing store. Yeah, to answer a question from Will Snow. If it's not, if it's just HTML CSS, I think you can always wrap it up in React and then put it inside. I think React is just a web library, right? You can always wrap it over there. If the code has some stuff like a jQuery, it might be tricky. That directly modify the DOM. If it's just an HTML CSS, it'll be not so difficult to convert. All right, I think that's probably the end of it, and it's 12 o'clock here in Victoria, Canada. All right, thank you very much for watching this, and I hope this is useful. And just feel free to ping me like on Twitter or email me if you have any questions or anything. Yeah, thank you. Have a great one.